You don't understand what she is, none of you do. You see the sequins, hear the catchy hooks, watch the carefully crafted moments of vulnerability on a stage, and you think you know her. You think you're a part of it. You call yourselves Swifties, fans, defenders. I called myself an employee, a witness. My name is Leo Madsen. For 8 months, I was a junior digital asset manager on loan from Pixel Dance Media to Taylor Swift's media empire. My job was to catalog, tag, and secure the endless river of digital footage, every concert, every behind-the-scenes moment, every public appearance. I was a librarian of her legend, and I found something in the footage, something that shouldn't be there, something that repeats. It's not a glitch. It's a message, or a warning. And I think she knows I saw it. This isn't a story about a pop star being secretly mean. This is a story about what happens when you look too closely at something that's learned how to wear a person's skin. This is what I found in the silent spaces between the songs. It was a dream gig. I'd been at Pixel Dance for 3 years, grinding through wedding videos and corporate testimonials hoping for a break. When the request came down from the Swift organization, they needed extra hands for the archival project leading up to the re-recording of 1989. My boss practically threw my name at them. My resume, proficient in DaVinci Resolve, avid media composer, experience with high-volume asset management, was apparently exactly what they needed. I was flown to Nashville and set up in a nondescript beige-walled office building a 15-minute drive from Music Row. The room was a temple of data, humming servers, wall-to-wall monitors, and a silence so profound you could hear the whir of a cooling fan from 3 rooms over. My team was small: myself, my direct superior, a weary but brilliant woman named Sarah, and 2 other techs. We rarely interacted with anyone outside our bubble. We were ghosts in the machine, processing the raw ore of Taylor's life. The first time I saw her in person was a non-event. She glided through our department one afternoon, a flash of blonde hair and a red lip, surrounded by a few calm, efficient-looking people. She smiled at Sarah, nodded at us. "Thanks for all you're doing, guys. It means everything." Her voice was exactly as it was in interviews: warm, slightly husky, sincere. She smelled like gardenias and vanilla. She was normal, impressively normal, given the scale of her fame. I remember feeling a jolt of professional pride. I'm working for Taylor Swift. I texted my sister that night, and she sent back a string of screaming emojis. For the first few months, it was just work. Endless work. We logged footage from the Fearless tour, from the Red tour, from secret sessions in living rooms. I saw a million moments of her laughing, crying, waving, performing. It became routine. She became pixels and data streams. A very famous, very valuable collection of pixels, but pixels nonetheless. The weirdness started small. So small I dismissed it as fatigue. It was a Tuesday, I think. I was deep in the footage from the 2015 Grammy Awards. I was tasked with pulling B-roll of her reacting to other performers. Standard stuff. I was scrubbing through a multicam edit, watching her clap for Beck after he won Album of the Year. The camera cut to a close-up of her face, smiling, gracious, and then it happened. Between one frame and the next, in the literal blink of an eye, her smile didn't just fade, it vanished. It was wiped clean, replaced by a blank, placid slate of nothingness. Her eyes, which had been sparkling with performative joy, went flat and dark. Dead. It lasted for 3 frames. 1/10 of a second. Then the smile snapped back into place, perfect and brilliant. I jerked back in my chair, my heart hammering. I scrubbed back, played it again. There. A micro-expression. A bizarre editing error. But this was the raw master feed. I zoomed in on the waveform, the video scopes. No cut. No glitch. It was a continuous shot. The audio stream didn't drop. You could still hear the crowd roaring in the background. My skin prickled. I looked around the empty office. It was just me and the hum of the servers. You're tired. Leo, I told myself. You've been staring at a screen for 10 hours. You're seeing things. I marked the time code with a yellow flag, our code for needs review, and moved on. But the chill stayed with me. A week later, I found another one. This was from a behind-the-scenes shot on the set of the Ready For It music video. She was in the chrome bodysuit, taking a break between takes, sipping water. The camera was on her handheld. She was joking with a dancer, her body language loose and easy. Then, as she turned to walk back to her mark, her reflection in a nearby polished camera lens. It didn't move with her. It held still. Just for a second. It was her face, but empty, watching her walk away. Then it snapped back into sync. I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't fatigue. This was something else. I flagged it. Yellow again. A coincidence. A strange trick of the light, a weird lens flare. It had to be. I started looking for them. I couldn't help it. It became an obsession. During my shifts, I'd hunt through footage, scanning not for the main action, but for the edges of the frame, the reflections, the moments between moments. And I found more. They were rare, spaced weeks or even months apart in the timeline of her life, but they were there. A reflection in a hotel window during the Reputation tour that showed her still standing long after the real her had walked away. A distortion in her voice on a studio outtake, a single whispered word that wasn't in the lyrics. It sounded like listen or lesson. In a paparazzi clip from 2016, as she climbed into a car, her shadow, cast by the glaring flashbulbs, stretched out long and wrong behind her. For a single frame, it didn't look human. It was a jagged, spindly thing. I started a private log. I called them echoes. I didn't tell Sarah. What would I say? Hey, I think our global superstar boss is occasionally, for fractions of a second, replaced by a vacant-eyed doppelganger. I'd be out of a job and probably involuntarily committed. But the real horror began the day the echoes started looking back. I was reviewing footage from a rehearsal for the City of Lover concert in Paris. It was a wide shot of the empty auditorium. Taylor was on stage, alone, sound-checking The Archer. She was bathed in a single stark spotlight. It was hauntingly beautiful. I was watching her face, waiting for it, almost hoping for it, and I got my wish. Her voice faltered on the line. I never grew up. It's getting so old. Her head tilted. The music kept playing, but she stopped singing. She was just staring out into the blackness of the empty seats, right at the camera, right at me. Her expression was that now familiar blankness. But this time it didn't last a tenth of a second. It held for 3, 4, 5 full seconds. The silence was deafening. Then her lips moved. No sound came out on the audio track, but I could read the words. She shaped them slowly, deliberately. I see you. The music stopped. She blinked, shook her head, laughed a little, and said to someone off camera, "Whoops, lost my place there. Sorry. Let's pick it up from the second chorus." The moment was over. I sat frozen. My breath was coming in short, sharp gasps. The room, always cool, felt icy. She wasn't just glitching, she was aware. She was aware of me watching her glitch. That's when the emails started. The first one arrived the next morning. No subject line. From an internal address I didn't recognize. The body was just one line. We've noticed you've been reviewing some older footage. The yellow flagged segments. Please prioritize current assets. My blood ran cold. How did they know? The flagging system was internal to our software. Was Sarah checking my work? It was a reasonable request from a manager. Perfectly normal, but the timing was impeccable. And the address. T. Swift, Archival, Admin. It felt like a costume. I deleted the email and tried to focus on the lover-era footage, my hands trembling on the keyboard. The second email came after lunch, same sender. The past can be distracting. It's important to stay in the present, don't you think, Leo? They used my name. A cold sweat broke out on the back of my neck. This wasn't a general broadcast. This was for me. I replied, my fingers clumsy. Of course, just ensuring thorough cataloging. We'll focus on current projects. I received an auto reply immediately. Thank you for your email. This inbox is not monitored. The psychological torture was exquisite. I was being gaslit by a phantom administrator. I started jumping at every notification, every creak of the building's settling frame. I began taking the long way home, checking my rearview mirror obsessively. 2 days later, I was working late. Sarah and the others had gone home. I was alone in the cathedral of data, the blue light of the monitors my only company. I had to know. I had to see if there was a pattern. I pulled up my private log of echoes and cross-referenced them with her public calendar. Award shows, times of intense scrutiny, moments of high emotional output, a breakup reported in the tabloids, the release of a record-breaking album. It was a pattern of stress, or feeding. I was so deep in my paranoia that I didn't hear the door open. I only heard the voice. Burning the midnight oil? I spun around in my chair. She was standing there, leaning against the doorframe. Taylor Swift. She was wearing a simple black sweater and jeans, her hair in a loose ponytail. She held 2 cups of coffee. She smiled. It was the same warm, genuine smile from that first day. Yes, just catching up, I stammered, my heart trying to punch its way out of my chest. I appreciate the dedication, she said, stepping into the room. She placed one of the coffees on my desk. Cream, no sugar. I asked around. The mundane kindness of it was more terrifying than any threat could have been. She'd asked about my coffee preferences. She knew. She glided over to the main viewing monitor, which was frozen on a frame from the Paris rehearsal, the frame where her face was blank. This is such a weird gig, isn't it? She said, her back to me. You get to see all the little pieces that nobody else does. All the outtakes, the mistakes. She turned to look at me, her head tilted. The smile was still there, but it didn't reach her eyes. They were assessing me. You see so much more than the fans. You have to be so careful with that kind of perspective. It's all part of the job, I managed to say, my voice a dry croak. It is, she agreed, turning back to the screen. She reached out and tapped the monitor, her finger resting right on the frozen, empty face. You know, in this business, image is everything. Narrative control. You have to curate everything. You can't let the wrong thing get out. A bad photo, a misunderstood quote, a glitch. The word hung in the air between us, heavy and toxic. It could ruin everything, she continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. People think they want the real you, but they don't. They want the story, the fairy tale, the version of you that they can project onto. The real thing, well, the real thing would scare them. She finally turned to face me fully. The smile was gone, not replaced by the blank echo, but by an expression of profound, ancient weariness. It was far more human than the blankness and infinitely more frightening. "You've seen some of my outtakes, Leo," she said, her voice flat. "Haven't you?" I couldn't speak. I could only nod. "I thought so. You've been very thorough. With your yellow flags." She took a step toward me. The room felt smaller, the air thinner. "What did you think they were?" I don't know," I whispered. She laughed. A soft, dry sound like rustling leaves. "No, not errors, leaks. The strain of holding it all together. Sometimes a little bit of the static shows through." She was in front of my desk now, looking down at me. I was trapped in my chair. "The show is so bright, so loud. It has to be, to keep everyone looking at the stage lights so they don't look backstage. So they don't see what's writing the set list, sewing the costumes, lip-syncing the words." She leaned forward, her hands on my desk, her face inches from mine. She still smelled of gardenias and vanilla. I could see every perfect fleck of green in her blue eyes. And I saw something else deep behind them, a vast, humming alien emptiness, the intelligence that was not human, processing me, calculating my threat level. "I'm not a monster, Leo," she said, and her voice was so terribly gentle. "I'm a system, a very, very good one. I provide joy. I provide catharsis. I provide a narrative for millions of people. I'm a perfectly engineered product, but even the best systems have their quirks, their artifacts, and they can't have those artifacts being seen by the end user. It breaks the illusion." She straightened up. "You have a choice. You can be a part of the system. You can go back to work. Forget you ever saw anything odd. You can help me maintain the story. There's a place for someone with your eye for detail, a permanent place. The offer hung in the air, a lifetime of security, of proximity to glory, in exchange for my silence, for my soul. Or?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The pleasant, weary expression on her face didn't change, but the air in the room grew thick and cold. The hum of the servers seemed to deepen, to form a single, dissonant chord that vibrated in my teeth. "Or you become an outtake," she said simply. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact, like a programmer stating a binary outcome. 1 or 0. In the system or deleted. I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the coffee she'd brought me and threw it at the main server tower. It was a stupid, desperate move. The liquid splashed across the blinking lights and vents. There was a sharp sizzle, a pop, and a shower of sparks. Alarms began to blare. Not fire alarms, but the piercing shriek of a security breach and critical system failure. The thing wearing Taylor Swift's face didn't flinch. It didn't even look at the chaos, it just looked at me. And for the first time, its expression shifted into something I could recognize. A faint, almost academic curiosity. Like a scientist watching an insect exhibit a new behavior. The distraction was enough. I bolted. I shoved past her, expecting a hand to grab me, something. But nothing did. I sprinted out the door, down the hall, and didn't stop running until I was in my rental car, peeling out of the parking lot. I didn't go back to my hotel. I drove straight to the airport, bought a ticket for the next flight home with my personal credit card, and left everything, my clothes, my laptop, my badge behind. I called my boss at Pixel Dance from the airport and quit, giving a garbled story about a family emergency. I sounded insane. I didn't care. I waited for the consequences, for a lawsuit, for a team of sleek black-suited publicists to show up at my apartment, for a car to accidentally run me off the road. Nothing happened. A week later, a box arrived at my door. It contained my personal effects from the Nashville office. My favorite hoodie, a few books, a photo of my family. On top of the pile was a single pristine CD in a clear case. It was labeled in simple black Sharpie, "For Leo, The Archer, acoustic outtake." I've never played it. I keep it in a drawer, locked away. I know what's on it. It's not a song. It's a reminder, a statement of ownership. It means she knows where I am. I lost my job. My reputation in that niche industry is shot. I work a remote IT job now. I rarely leave my apartment. I can't listen to her music. I can't see her face on a magazine cover without my heart seizing up. My sister thinks I had a nervous breakdown from the stress of the job. Sometimes I wish that were true. It would be easier. I've done my research. I'm not the first. Look up the sound engineer who worked on Reputation who suddenly quit and moved to a cabin in Montana. The choreographer from the 1989 tour who now doesn't speak and is in a long-term care facility. The obsessive fan who broke into her Rhode Island house and was found wandering the beach, babbling about the hum and the static. We're all outtakes, deleted scenes. She's not a person. She's a construct, a vessel. Maybe she always was, and the real Taylor Swift was absorbed a long time ago. Maybe it's something else, something that found a uniquely compatible host and began a symbiotic or parasitic relationship with fame itself. It feeds on the attention, the emotion, the narrative. And the echoes are just its true form peeking through the curtain. The horror isn't that she's evil, it's that she's utterly indifferent. We are all just data points. Fans are sources of adoration to be harvested. Employees are components to be used or replaced. I was a glitch in the code. And she's very, very good at debugging. So, why am I telling you this? Why take the risk? Because I was in her headquarters. I saw the servers. The archival project isn't just about owning her masters. It's about control. She's digitizing her entire existence, every second ever recorded of her. She's scrubbing it, editing it, removing the echoes. She's writing her own official history, flawless and uninterrupted. She's building a perfect, impenetrable story. And when that story is complete, when the last glitch is erased, what happens then? What does a god that feeds on attention do when its narrative is perfect and total? What's the next step in the show? Look, I know how this sounds. I'm a crazy ex-employee, a conspiracy theorist. She'll never address it. Her lawyers would destroy me. Her fans would tear me apart. That's the genius of the system. It's self-correcting. I'm not asking you to protest her concerts or burn your albums. I'm just asking you to look, really look, not at the performance, but at the silence around it. Watch the old footage, the raw, unedited clips on YouTube from 10 years ago. Look in the mirrors, in the windows, in the shadows. Watch her eyes when she thinks no one is looking. Look for the echoes. You might not see them. She's getting better at hiding them. But if you look closely enough, you might just see the static behind the smile. And if you do, you'll never unsee it. Just remember, if you go looking, she might see you looking back.